Hello, all you lovely computer people, and welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today we're talking about these lovely specimens in the tray in front of you. Now, some of you are thinking probably, oh no, he's talking about canna lilies again. He did that twice this year. Why all the canna lilies? Why? Why can't you talk about something else? Not quite, my friends. Not quite. The specimens in front of you are scientifically known as Curcurma longa. Now, its common name is pronounced a bunch of different ways, but I pulled the pronunciation key and verified how you're supposed to pronounce it. Turmeric. Sometimes pronounced turmeric or turmeric. But anyway, yeah, we're finally there. The other cousin of ginger that you knew you needed, and it's medically and culinarily relevant. Now, it is in the Zingiberaceae family, which means ginger, and the scientific name Curcurma longa has some meanings for those botanical Latin names. Curcurma is from Arabic, curcum, or saffron. And this plant was once known as poor man's saffron because it was the cheaper alternative to saffron. Saffron is expensive for a very good reason. Longa comes from longus, meaning long. So there you go. It's referring to the length of the root specifically. Now, why is saffron expensive? Because it is relevant to this. And its expense is why turmeric, however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to pronounce it a bunch of different ways for this video, so just be ready. It's spread across the world because it's the cheap, easy-to-grow alternative. You see, saffron is actually the stigma or one of the sex parts of the flower of a specific variety of crocus. Now, crocuses are bulbs. They're actually a corm, technically, if you want to get into it. Basically, the new bulb forms on top of the rotting remains of the old bulb, and blah, blah, blah. It's botanically fascinating, but that part's a topic for another day. Well, it's the stigma, the part that has the bright orangey yellow color to it. Well, you only get a few of those per flower, maybe only one. I can't remember exactly how many it is in that breed, but, the common ones may have two or three. I think the saffron ones, I'm not sure. But that tiny little thing, which is labor-intensive to pick, it takes probably hundreds of them to make a single ounce of seasoning. Henceforth, the expense. Henceforth, the bright yellow coloring that it's known for, which produced yellow rice or saffron rice. Yellow rice being the knockoff. That's how you produce it. So, knowing that, turmeric comes into play and says, Here, saffron, you can hold my beer. It's my time. So it became the replacement, the cheap and easy replacement that has a different flavor and a different smell, and it's its own thing. Sometimes they're coupled together for maximum yellow effort. But anyway, turmeric is native to India, and it's a hardy perennial in zones 8A through 11B. The test gardens are in 8B now. We were in 8A, which means it was a perennial here the whole time. Woo! Its soil pH preference is 6 to 8.0, 6.0 to 8.0, and it prefers good drainage and a high organic matter. Now, that comes with a caveat that I have to mention. If you're in a colder climate and you're trying to grow this and you want to bring it in for the winter, don't give it organic matter before you... abstain from giving it any kind of organic matter amendment to its soil a month before you bring it in. Because if you do, there's a chance you'll end up with fungus gnats, random decomposers skittering around your home, like pill bugs and things, which some people don't like. You heard that? Mischief agrees. Anyway, and it also may introduce root rot into the rhizomes. This right here. So, it prefers full sun to partial shade. And again, I buy on the mimicking the tropical subcontinent effect by full sun in the morning, afternoon shade if possible, and probably under the drip line of the house for best effect. That's how I do it. You are going to have to divide the rootstocks every so often to induce them to produce new colonies, and thus you get more. That's a menace. I swear. Oh, cat fight. This is a Manus bud over here. So, this plant, although not shown in this particular specimen because we got it in midsummer, and I started out in midsummer, can get up to 3 to 4 feet tall and about as wide, which is the rhizomes get about as wide. They spread that far, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. Now, this plant is also known as common turmeric, which is like the blandest alternate name ever in English. Like, really? Common turmeric? That's the best you can come up with? But whatever. We're judging. I'm judging. My judgment cannon is armed. Anyway. Now, before I go into the interesting and relevant facts like medical and culinary and nutritional value and all that, and history, I want to say that these plants are of 2 varieties. BKK, which you can see the roots are doing all right, but they haven't sprouted, and Roma, these 3. Roma is a little more cooperative. Now, these came through a friend of mine who works at Sandhills Mushroom Farm, and easy props, go look them up, who got them from another person he knows, and he's like, hey, I got some turmeric, you want some? And I'm like, is there white on rice? So, yeah. I didn't think they would do much because it was late summer at the time, but lo and behold, these plants have impressed me in the fact that they're actually growing. And in fact, this one here, I'm going to zoom in so you can see what's going on. The big one, because the big one has grown enough that if you look carefully at this pot, it's not round anymore. It's oval because the root is using its growing force and the hydraulics of its growing force to push the plastic outward, which is exactly what ginger and turmeric will do. And a lot of other rhizomes, canna lilies will do this as well, actually. If they've been pot bound for too long or the rhizome's too big, the pot will suddenly become oval and the soil will, as you water, fill in the gaps. And eventually you have this plant that you're not sure you can get out of the pot without breaking the pot. It takes special skills or very careful transplanting. So that happens. That tells you that the rhizome is vigorous, which is why this one is definitely a keeper. Now, let's talk about some facts here. The origin of turmeric is theorized to be Southwest India in specific, and humanity may have started using it well over 2 millennia ago. Now, I didn't dig deep into that part because there are a few conflicting pieces of information, but they all agree that we've had it for at least 2,000 years, which is pretty good for a herb, which this technically quantifies as. Now, modern turmeric is thought to be a hybrid of 2 different species. However, I've seen that written in a bunch of places, but I have yet to find a study where they genetically tested and compared. But, that's like oats. The modern oats that we think, that come in the Quaker Oats packages, are actually a cross between 2 oats of antiquity. That's just how it is. So, what happens in the farmer's field with ye olde Barry White music stays in the farmer's field. I should also point out, by the way, rutabagas are believed to be a cross between cabbage and some kind of turnip, because the plants don't know the difference, and if they have the same amount of stuff and the pollen can cross, boop, hybrid. And hybrids do sometimes happen naturally. Now, in 1 tablespoon of dried turmeric powder, you will find, nutritionally speaking, there are 29 calories, 172 grams of potassium, and for your daily value of nutrients and stuff, 15% iron, 5% beta B6, not beta carotene, B6, 3% magnesium, and 3% vitamin C. I mean, who the heck needs bananas when you got turmeric? Get out of here, bananas, you losers. Anyway, I should also point out that on the botanical name front, this plant was previously known as Curcurma domestica. And you will find that in some older publications, so don't be surprised. It just means that it's the same plant. So, with that covered, we talk about the medical uses. Now, turmeric is medically useful for upset stomach, gastrointestinal problems, inflammation, and pain relief. It has compounds that aren't quite salicylic acid, which is what is in aspirin, but darn close. Also, by combating inflammation, where the inflammation could be setting off the nerves registering pain, it can actually help sometimes with those problems. Menace is trying to sneak by. Anyway, it can help with those problems. Now, it is also an antimicrobial and anti-cancer herb, which is great. Now, of course, if you have cancer, I recommend you talk to a qualified practitioner before you start rolling around in a pile of turmeric to treat your cancer. But the antimicrobial thing is true, and it can help get that out of your system, your digestive tract. I'm pretty sure extracts of it can actually kill germs and things, and that's up there. But back to that inflammation, that's worthy of note. It and ginger both have this property. But what's interesting is it has a compound. It's actually a double anti-inflammatory. It has a compound that eases or stops existing inflammation, but it has a compound also that helps stop new inflammation from happening. And doctors do think that a lot of modern human health ailments are ultimately because of inflammation. So, what's not to like? And out here in the Southeast, it's a plant you can grow in the ground. It tastes great. And let me tell you, if you ever add powdered turmeric to your rice, especially basmati rice, it's amazing stuff. Maize balls. So, that's turmeric. I'm glad to present it. And for the person who got me the rhizomes, thank you. You get extra credit this time. By the way, I just want to point this out. There's the rhizome. But anyway, if you like this episode, please hit like. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. If you have any thoughts about turmeric, please put them in the comments section. I love to hear back from you folks. Additionally, the Forage blog is still going, and in addition to that, there are other postings on Nextdoor and stuff like that, so you can check that out. So, with all that said, and this has been a longer than expected episode with critter intervention, as always, folks, keep them growing, and thanks for watching.